Hello everyone, I'm George from Ireland, back from my continental not so grand tour. So this video is about the new Taoiseach, Micheal Martin. So if you're not Irish, you probably won't know that Taoiseach is the Prime Minister of the Republic of Ireland. But even while speaking English, you're supposed to use the Irish language word Taoiseach as in chieftain. So it was only 3 days ago that Micheal Martin was elevated to the second highest office in the land, obviously elected by Dáil Éireann. I don't think that the Senate or the Seanad has a role in that. So Dr. Varadkar stepped down as just over 3 years as Taoiseach, is part of a power sharing agreement. So there's a coalition between Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, and the Green Party. So Sinn Féin has been excluded from this, and they got the most votes at the recent election. So they are obviously miffed. They think it's terribly unfair. They're being blocked out. Now, I don't see why Sinn Féin shouldn't be in government in the Republic of Ireland. I dislike them, but they did win the most votes. Now, they're not obviously absolutely guaranteed to do so. They can't form a government on their own, so it's a case of cobbling together a coalition. So obviously the number of votes for Fianna Fáil and the Greens and Fine Gael together far exceeds the number that Sinn Féin won. But some people in the south are determined to keep Sinn Féin out of cabinet, but I don't see why. They're in the Northern Ireland executive, have been for years, far more objectionable to unionists than they are to fellow nationalists in the Republic, or post-nationalists, that people have called themselves in some cases for 20 years. Anyway, more about Micheal Martin's background. So he was born in Cork in 1960. He is 60 years old. He first of all lived in Turner's Cross, that side of the city. That's like Ballyfihan, people sometimes call it, but he moved somewhere else. So his father was a bus driver. He came from a working class family. He went to Presentation Brothers College, or Pres as it's commonly known, one of the best schools in the city. Anyway, so then he went to University College Cork, which is like across the street from Pres. So Pres is named after the Presentation Brothers. They were this order of priests, as in named after the presentation of the infant Jesus at the temple when he was a few days old. So he did a bachelor's degree there. He qualified as a teacher, taught at his old school. At the age of 25, was a full-time public representative, because obviously elected to Cork Corporation. That's a city council. We used to call it corporation till not so long ago. Not that corporation means a company in this case. Likewise, Dublin used to have the Corpo running it. So he married in his youth. He's got 5 children. Unfortunately, he's been touched by a tragedy. He's been bereaved of 2 of his children, who both died very young. I mean, as children, because, you know, being 60, he's got 3 grown-up children. Presumably he's got grandchildren too. So he was elected Lord Mayor of Cork in 1992, and Cork were one of only 3 cities in Ireland to have a Lord Mayor as opposed to Mayor. Dublin, Belfast are the others. Anyway, so he held various. He was elected to the Dáil early in the 90s, and he held various cabinet posts. One of his portfolios was education in the late 90s. I remember seeing photos of him presenting various awards to pupils who'd won prizes for this and that. So he was managed to stay in with all the leaders. Typically, a typical Fianna Fáil politician, didn't really have an ideology, very capitalist and very socialist at the same time. And just blindly loyal to Bertie Ahern, very much towing the party line. Europhile. Anyway, then came the credit crunch, 2008, and they knew that their party was cruising for a bruising. That election was a damage limitation exercise. Everybody knew that Fianna Fáil was going to take an absolute thrashing. Just how bad was it going to be? And so Brian Cowan led in the election, that Taoiseach, and they went down to a devastating defeat. It was along the lines of 1997 for the Conservative Party. So Fianna Fáil, being founded in 1926, is the worst defeat in their 85-year history. Up until that point, Fianna Fáil had either been the biggest or the second biggest party every single time, and then it was reduced to 4th, if I've got that right. But, you know, he didn't abandon ship. There were a lot of rats off that sinking ship. He didn't leave politics. He held on. He became a leader. There were not many other candidates, so quite a poison chalice. And then the next decade has been the slow rebirth of Fianna Fáil as the governing party. The party which, since it first came to office in 1932, has been in office most of the time since then. And so since 2011 till now was Fine Gael's longest stretch in government since since it was founded in 1922. You could say 22, 23. It's debatable. It used to be Cumann na Gael, but all right, in the early late 30s, Fine Gael absorbed a couple of other parties, the farmers' parties, and the blue shirts, as they don't like to point out. Anyway, so he's a survivor, and he's a veteran of Fianna Fáil, obviously consummate politician, always says the right thing, kind of a man of people, unpretentious, sincere. I've never met him, but so I've heard the same in private as he's in public. Doesn't do display mode. Honest, not into peculation. I'm not impressed by him. I don't think he's a bad person. I'm not sure he's ever been accused of unethical behaviour. It doesn't appear to have an ideology. That's Fianna Fáil. I mean, Fine Gael might be a little bit more liberal, push the abortion thing, the whole gay marriage thing. Fine Gael is more liberal. Fine Gael more ardently Europhile. Fine Gael maybe a bit more middle class, a bit more urban. There's not a lot in it. Fianna Fáil slightly more rural, a little bit more working class. People say it was all Civil War politics. Who was on which side in 1922, but I really don't think that comes up very much. But they've never served in government together. Perhaps this is a healthy step. So he's almost an everyman. He's a man of the people. Ordinary people can identify with him. So I think he is genuine. So he has achieved his heart's desire, getting the top job. Obviously, there's the presidency after that, but one step at a time. May not get that. It's quite a long time since Taoiseach has become president. Albert Reynolds was hoping to get that. He didn't get even the nomination of his party. So that's him, and obviously Dr. Varadkar still serving in a senior capacity. Stable government for quite some time to come. And it was magnanimous of Leo Varadkar to be able to be willing to give up his position as head of government for the sake of national unity and having a strong government which could last a long time in office. Well, that's my penny's worth about Micheal Martin. Incidentally, in case you don't know, Micheal is the Irish version of Michael, but he goes by the Irish language version of the name. That is his name, Micheal Martin. That's enough from me. Toodaloo.